My name is Javier Cordova. I'm the president and CEO of Soma Gold Corp. Soma Gold Corp is a Canadian mining company publicly traded at the Toronto Stock Exchange. We have assets here in Colombia. We have one operating mine and exploration projects. We fully own 3 subsidiaries here: Operadora Minera, 4 Points Mining, and Sara Holdings.
Javier, nice to meet you. Thank you for the introduction. Now, we first met in Ecuador, or possibly outside of Ecuador, but kind of when discussing Ecuador. And you're an Ecuadorian, kind of involved in the mining industry for a long time. How did you end up in a Colombian mining operation?
Well, interesting question. Yes, we met many years ago when I was serving at the time as a Minister of Mining in Ecuador. I'm an Ecuadorian. I started with the mining sector in 2007 from the public side. I was at the time an advisor to the Vice Minister of Mining in Ecuador. And of course, I continued to serve in different positions. My last position, like I mentioned, was being the Minister of Mining. And after I left in 2018, early in 2019, of course, I continued to be involved in the mining sector. I met the company, the chairman of that company, Jeff Hamson, a couple of months after I left my public service in PIRAC in Toronto. And when he presented me the option of what he was doing with the company here in Colombia, I found that it was really interesting, challenging, something that I was interested in, the focus on the company, how they were focusing on the social aspects here in Colombia, formalization of small miners. That was part of what I tried to do in Ecuador when I was the minister. I thought that it was an interesting challenge. First of all, I started to work and look for opportunities. This is a company that is focused in the Andean region. So that was for me and something that I thought I could bring to the company. So I started first as a consultant looking for different projects, and then I moved to my current position.
How long have you been CEO for?
I've been the CEO for now about 2.5 years.
When you joined the company, when you took up the position of CEO 2.5 years ago, what was the kind of the situation of the company? Because I understand you're producing around 3,000 ounces of gold per month from one of your operations from a mine. What was the company then, and compared to what it is now?
It's been a lot going on. When I joined the company, we weren't producing. At that time, we owned 4 Points Mining that has a 225 tons per day mill here in Colombia, and Sara Holdings, that is an exploration project. We weren't producing at the time. The Limon mill wasn't producing. And at the time when I joined, we just sold a project that we had in Arizona, Gold Road. And we started to negotiate with Mineros the acquisition of Operadora Minera, that is the operating mine. So when I joined, we weren't producing. We closed the deal of Mineros, going to be 3 years now in July. So in July of 2020, we bought Operadora Minera, that at the time had 2 operating mines, traditional mines, and the company was producing at the time about 1,400 ounces of gold per month. So when I joined, we weren't producing. Then a couple of months after, we bought Operadora Minera, and we started producing with Operadora. It was an operating mine, 1,400 ounces of gold. Right now, we have doubled that. Last month in May, we produced a record. It was a record month with over 3,000 ounces of gold, and we should continue to ramp up so we can finish the year with 36,000, between 35 and 36,000 ounces of gold. That is, I believe, for the team here, pretty impressive. Operadora Minera was a company that was doing around 16, 17 thousand ounces of gold per year. Last year, we did over 23,000. This year we should be at around 35,000.
You said that you took it on. It was traditional mining. And what do you mean by that? And have you changed it away from traditional mining? And if so, how?
Yeah, when I should have been more clear on that. When I mean traditional mining, is the 2 mines that we were mining at Operadora Minera were traditional in the sense that it's like you build a decline and you have the operators, they use the jack legs in order to drill and to blast. So it's and then they move the material in small like rails, carts, inside the mine. So it's more like they call it here, like more traditional mining. Now, Cordero, the new mine that Layan mine was already closed, Cordero, it's a mechanized mine. So we are using jumbos, dumpers, scoops inside the mine. We're going to with cattle fill as a mining method. So it's a completely change. So now that the new mine, it's a mechanized mine, it's a modern mine, much more safe than what we had before, and that's part of the reason why you are seeing that ramp up in production.
And did you have to invest a lot of capital to kind of get the equipment and to do the training?
Yes.
and do the turnover? So kind of what was the kind of the rough total investment?
Yeah, so just in equipment we bought when we started to develop the Cordero mine, we had a contractor that did all the development. By the middle of last year, we decided to go to fully operate our mine. So we bought some big equipment. The investment for that was over $5 million US, and we've been self-performing since last quarter of last year. So not only in that, we have invested, of course, in the new equipment. We're building a new tailings dam. There have been some investment to improve our mill, the mine site, the camp. So I think that the company has made a very important investment in the last couple of years in order to make this the operation that we're having, to run it in the safest way possible. Of course, to be as efficient as we can with cost control. And I think it's something that it's showing and it's proving some very important results for us.
Well, congratulations on the transformation to date. What's your vision for the company now? Is it about sustaining a run rate of 36,000 ounces in this project area and looking at other project areas, or is it growth within the project area? What's the broader plan?
So definitely to grow, we are expecting, like I mentioned, we should be over 35,000 ounces of gold in 2023. And for 2024 forward, we should be over 47,000 ounces of gold. And this should be coming from Cordero, ramping up the production of Cordero and restarting the El Limon mill. So right now we own two mills. One is the El Bagre mill, the one that is operating right now with a capacity of about 450, 475 tons per day. That's the one that we're operating, and it's getting all the feed from the Cordero mine. And we also have, I mentioned at the beginning, at El Limon, at 4 Points, at the other subsidiary of the company here, we have an additional mill of 225 tons per day. That's on current maintenance, and that's waiting for production in Cordero to ramp up. So we can get part of the feed to that mill. Right now, we're producing about 470 tons per day from the mine, and that's going to the El Bagre mill. Once we can get that production to go over 600 tons per day, we will start taking that production to El Limon. That should happen in the last quarter of this year. That's what we're aiming for. And then we should see next year a ramp up in production going over 45,000 ounces of gold. Then we have an additional project.
Sorry, so what's the trucking distance to El Limon mill?
It's very close. So between the two mills, it's about a 45-minute drive. We have two different roads to access, so communications, I mean that the roads are very good, so that shouldn't be any kind of problem.
Where's the Cordero mine? Is it near Bagre mill?
Yeah, near El Bagre. So the Cordero mine is very close to El Bagre, and but it's not very distant from El Limon. So that's also a very important advantage for us, that we have the two mills that are really close. There's two mining towns, El Bagre and Zaragoza. El Limon is closer to Zaragoza. El Bagre is where we have our operation right now in Cordero, but the distance for the two of them, it's, like I mentioned, about 30-45 minutes, and you have two different roads to access, so it's very easy.
And when you talk about expanding production to 600 tons per day from the current level of 470, I mean, effectively that's a 30% increase in your daily production. Is that just coming from increasing the number of stopes that you've got, the number of headings that you've got open?
Yes, precisely. It's coming from there, increasing the stopes. We're now mining. We have developed and started to mine from different levels, level 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to level 6. So once we continue to advance and develop the mine, we will have more stopes and we'll be able to get more production. Like I mentioned, it's been very challenging. When we got Operadora almost 3 years ago, we were mining out of La and Mangos. Those two mines were depleting. So that the team made a huge effort, not only in maintaining the production of the two mines, but started construction and development of Cordero. And by the start of this year, we closed down the two mines that were depleted. So we decided to stop production from them and start just from Cordero. So Cordero is being producing steadily, but as we continue to develop and we continue to go to deeper levels and develop more stopes, we should be seeing more production coming from the mine. But additional to that I was mentioning, we have also a project to the north of Cordero that is called Nechi. Nechi has already a 43101. We have some Mineros, the company that used to own Operadora Minera, did some mining design for Nechi. So, and there's about 120,000 ounces of gold in that project. So we will start in the next couple of weeks to do additional drilling in the area, so we can confirm all the information that we had. And we have already started to do some technical work so we can design that mine. That should be an additional mine that should come into production in the next couple of years and should add production to what we have in Cordero. I mentioned also
you're planning a mine life of what, kind of 12 years there, so kind of 10,000 ounces per annum.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're looking at?
Exactly. Yeah, at least 10 years. Of course, we have right now about 45,000 hectares of land in the property. So there's a lot of land that we need to cover in order to for our exploration team. We have 3 drill rigs and to drill from surface, and a small drill rig that we use to drill inside the mine at Cordero. So different targets. The idea is to continue to expand life of mine. From what we have right now, we're seeing at about 10 to 12 years mine of life between Cordero and Nechi, but we are confident that in the area where we are in Colombia, it's a very prospective area in Antioquia. We should be able to add to that mine of life.
What's the resource at Cordero?
The resource at Cordero, we did an update to the 43101. So between Cordero and Nechi, between including inferred, we're looking at about 400,000 ounces of gold.
Okay, let's just look at the kind of the balance sheet and where the money goes. So first of all let's look at the cost of your gold production, and then we can kind of follow the money from there.
Yeah. So right now we're doing our cash cost is 800, a bit below $900 per ounce, 893, and all in we're looking at about 1,250. Again, we have made a lot of investment. We're doing a lot of investment right now. We're building the new tailings dam. We had a gold loan that we paid in full at the beginning of the year, 2 years earlier than expected. So on that side, I think we're doing very well. And what we want to do is we just bought an additional asset. We had Operadora Minera, 4 Points Mining, and Sara Holdings. That was 27,000 hectares of land in the heart of Antioquia, in I would say one of the most prospective areas here in Colombia. To the south of where we are is a Gran Colombia operation. They have mined historically more than 10 million ounces of gold. And to the north of where we are is the alluvial operation of Mineros. They're producing about 80,000, 90,000 ounces of gold per year. So we are basically in the heart of one of the most prolific areas in Colombia. And we just acquired, like a month ago, we acquired a property adjacent to our property to the south, Otu Centro, that added about 11,000 hectares to our property. It's something more than that. And that also gives us and creates us more targets. We did that deal was for $2.2 million. We already paid $1 million as a part of the deal, and everything's coming from cash flow. So we haven't gone to the market. We haven't raised any additional money. Cash flow that is being generated from operation is funding the operation. It's funding pay the gold loan. Is funding all the investment that we're doing with the Sandvik equipment, with building that new tailings dam, of course, all the ventilation system, energy for the mine. But it's also funding this new acquisition and all the exploration plans that we have.
What's at Cordero? What's the average mine thickness and grade?
So the grade is about, it varies, but we were expecting, and the block model, we were expecting about 6.5 grams per ton. Right now we're mining at an average of 8 grams per ton. These are most of the area. It's that the veins are not very thick, but I would say in average it will vary. But in average it will be about a meter, 1.2 meters. Sometimes you get a very nice vein, a 3 meters vein, but then sometimes it will be very narrow. So it's typical of the area.
Yeah, I mean, amazing that you can maintain that kind of level of. I know it's 600 tons per day or 470 tons per day isn't the world's biggest mine.
Yeah, definitely.
But extraordinary that you can still do that at such narrow levels. It's a real skill, isn't it, to have narrow vein mining.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you see that and the conditions, it's tough. We have to be honest. It's tough. The area is tough. So not only narrow veins, but also there's a lot of faults, there's a lot of dikes. So it's very challenging for the team, but I think that they've done an amazing job. We have a very good team at the mine of mining engineer, of geologists, that they have been able to make this happen. And again, we have been growing steadily, and we're very positive that we'll continue to go in that sense. Right now, the original mine, the first design for the mine for Cordero, was looking into 4 levels. We are now already going to level 6, and we started to drill a couple of months ago from inside the mine, so we can better understand how the mine it's moving. We know it's open in depth. We know it's open to the north and to the south. So as we continue to drill and we continue to advance to the mine, we'll be able to understand it better and to update the information to have a better mine plan for the future.
Good. Just a quick look at your kind of financials. Show that you've got $30 million of kind of gross debt, with this. You got $5 million through US with a Sandvik.
Yes,
that's probably linked to the equipment. That's
the equipment.
Okay, and then there was $24 million.
So that was a loan. That was a loan with Sandvik that we're paying monthly. Yeah, okay. That's the equipment.
And then you've got the Connex debt. What's that related to? $24 million. Is that Canadian?
Yes, that's Canadian. And the Connex debt it's Glenn Walsh, who's the main shareholder of the company. So that's like a friendly debt, if you can say it in a way. That's them. The 2 main shareholders of the company are Glenn Walsh and Jeff Hampson. So it's a loan through Connex, that it's his company from Glenn. It's a loan that he made to the company many years ago in order to invest and grow. We should start. There's some conditions for that loan, and the conditions were to start to repayment in 2024, but we will start repaying this year, so we can, because the conditions are set. We ended that gold loan with NG, the offtake agreement 2 years before expected, so we will start to repay the Connex loan.
And so that's what $550,000 a month Canadian. Is that right? Is that the?
Yeah, that's a payment that we need to do, and we should start doing that in the second semester of this year.
And so even after that, you'll still have a budget available to do exploration, drilling, and the ongoing development work.
Yes, we're cash flow positive. We're profitable. So even with that, we did that analysis again, because the Connex loan wasn't supposed to start repayment until 2024. But since the conditions are there, we decided to start repayment earlier.
Good. What? Tell me about your shareholder register. You've mentioned the 2 largest shareholders. What are their positions, and who else is on the register?
So basically, between Glenn and Jeff, they own 70% of the company. So they have been there since the beginning. They're in there for the long term. So they're not looking to make a quick sale. They have invested a lot of money in the company here in Colombia. So 70% of the company, it's between both of them, and the rest, there's a couple of of additional important shareholders, but not as important as in size. I mean, in percentage as Glenn and Jeff, and the rest is in the float in the market.
Surely that's a challenge for the market. That shareholder structure. It's atypical.
Yes.
I think is a generous way of saying that.
Yes, it's to be honest, it's a typical. So we are not a very typical company, because we are a junior company. We do both, and sometimes the market, and this is the truth, sometimes the market don't like that we do both, or doesn't really get it. Meaning, when I mean both, it's exploration and production. So we are a production company, and we are an exploration company at the same time. We are not going into the market to raise money in order for exploration programs. So it's very typical for the market to see this kind of company. We know that there's some part of the market doesn't really like this the way that we're moving the company in that sense. But for us, it has worked, because we don't need to go to the market. Sometimes it's very challenging, and we've seen a lot of companies, exploration companies, having a lot of problems going to the market and raising the money. We don't need to go there, because we are producing, we're profitable, so we can finance our fully operation, including exploration, including these additional assets that we purchased, like Otto Centro. And yes, having two important shareholders, in one way it's atypical, because there's not a lot of float, so we see some problems in the liquidity on the market. But on the other side, for us, it's very important to know that we have that support from two important shareholders, that they have invested from their own money into the company since 2014, 2015. They have funded the company, and they have continued to push the company forward. They have participated in all the placements that the company has made. They have been actively participating on that. So that's also, and that should show the market that there's an important support from the two shareholders to move the company forward. We want to continue to advance. We want to grow. We are looking into additional assets right now, not only in Colombia, but in the Andean region, because we want to move the company to a mid-tier in the near future. That's the objective.
In some ways, if you're 70% owned by two major shareholders, and you see the reason why not many companies do both, as you said, they don't do exploration, they don't do production, is because normally the exploration is on a large scale, so you can kind of change your reserve base on a material basis. So you can double or treble by adding a million or a multi-million-dollar ounce to it. But
yes.
At the moment, the exploration you're doing is kind of incremental life of mine increase. It's not an order of magnitude change. It's not a step change.
No, but actually it is. So here to explain better, we have an exploration team that is focusing on what you're mentioning. So what we want to do is and we believe we can in the area. That's the reason why we bought Otto Centro. We want to have more than 1 million ounces in our exploration plan. That's what we're targeting like I mentioned, in about 40,000 hectares that we own right now in this area in Antioquia. So that's the exploration team, and that's their focus. We brought on board Chris Buchanan as our VP of exploration of Soma. We have here in Colombia our director of exploration that is focused basically on adding ounces to our resources and our reserves. And on the other side, we have a geological team for Mine of Life. So they work together, they coordinate, but the exploration team is basically focused on adding ounces to our resource and reserves, like you were mentioning, like a typical normal junior company, exploration company, focusing on that, targeting more than 1 million ounces. And then we have our mine geologists that are focused on drilling in the mine and drilling near Cordero, so we can add Mine of Life to the Cordero operation. So again, atypical, but we do both. It's not that we're drilling just to add Mine of Life. Actually, we have, like I mentioned, we just bought we used to have 2 drill rigs, Duralight rigs to drill from surface, and a small electrical one that we use for inside the mine. We bought an additional one. So there's part of that one of the drill rigs is drilling to the south of the property. That's full exploration. That's adding ounces to our resources and reserves. And the other one is drilling right now at Cordero with the geological team at the mine, so we can add ounces to the operation and to extend mine of life.
Good. Thanks for the explanation. You also mentioned in the Andean region outside of Colombia. Does that mean you're going to go back to Ecuador, or where else are you looking?
So of course we like Ecuador. Me being Ecuadorian, and since I was actually the minister, I think that there's lots of opportunities there. It's very grateful for me to see that very important projects advancing, or not projects anymore, like Fruta del Norte, Mirador already in production, and very nice assets. So we're always looking into Ecuador. We are right now also looking into Peru. Some interesting options that we're looking. There's nothing formal now. If the time comes, we'll inform the market. But we're looking. The company is focused in the Andean region. We believe that there's a lot of important resources all through the Andean belt, from the north of Colombia, from Venezuela all the way to Chile. So we're looking into that.
Just, you mentioned three countries. I mean, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, which aren't perhaps on the wish list of many companies. We've political instability, and not least in Colombia. I mean, in Colombia, for example, there are a whole range of companies which have been leaving the country, not looking at it, whether it's from the majors of Barrick or perhaps Fortescue down to the micro companies, the junior explorers. I think Royal Road has just left.
Royal Road.
So there's a range of companies which are just saying thanks to Colombia, no thanks, and Peru and Ecuador are not getting any easier. I guess if you're from Ecuador, you have a slightly different perspective on political risk.
I mean, it's to be honest, it's challenging for sure. I would be lying if I say that it's not challenging here in Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. You're seeing a lot of things changing in Chile, in Argentina, in Brazil, of course, in Venezuela. So it's challenging. Maybe it's, but you face challenges, and we face the challenges even in the US, in Arizona, in our project. Maybe not at a political risk, but we had a lot of issues with the authority there. So I think your challenges are going to be everywhere you go. The thing is, it's very important for us to really understand how to manage those challenges and how to manage the political risk. So you're seeing right now in Ecuador some political movement activity. The president is calling for a new presidential election that creates instability. It's same in Peru. Here in Colombia, we have a leftist president, Petro, for the first time in history. So that creates additional challenges. Colombia has a history of important challenges for more than 50 years with all the violence that they used to have. Now it's not like that, but still many issues to solve. But I think that the important, at the same time, it's for us, it's gratifying to see that not that companies are leaving. Of course, we never want to see companies leaving. In the case that you mentioned, the Barrick, Fortescue, Eagle, Royal Road, the Touchstone, that they decided not to continue in the country. But at the same time, we're making a production record, monthly production record. At the same time, we're buying assets here because we know that these kind of situations creates opportunity. And if I may just set an example, Landin, the late Lucas Landin, he saw a great opportunity in Ecuador at a time where nobody wanted to go to Ecuador, where Kinross couldn't advance the Fruta del Norte project. He took a risk. The company took a risk. They went into Ecuador believing that it could be done, and they're producing right now almost 500,000 ounces of gold per year at Fruta del Norte. So of course we are not at the size, but I do believe that there's lots of opportunities here in the Andean region, and I do believe that there's lots of opportunities in Colombia, and the conditions are set. We're profitable, we're cash flow positive, we're investing, we're drilling. We work really close with the community, so we don't feel that it's a unsafe place to be. We haven't had to face any like important issues against the company. We try to work with the employees, with the communities, very close with all the environmental issues, the social aspects of the area. So they see us as a part of the social environment, as an important asset to develop the area and the communities. And in that sense, we've been doing, I think, a very good job.
If you were to look at the kind of the overall value of the company at $50 million Canadian, $37 million US, you add in the $30 million of debt, you kind of, your EV is around $60 million with the cash and netted off. What would you say is required to take it to $100 million worth of value? What are the catalysts that you think that you can deliver that investors, let's say some investors don't want to buy now, but they might want to buy in a bit. What would you say are the kind of the things to show that you're on the right track that will take you to a what are you looking to deliver?
Yeah, I mean, I think results and being consistent. I think that sometimes I understand the market, sometimes I don't. For example, sometimes it's frustrating. I cannot deny that. We just went into with a new release on Tuesday, yesterday, saying that we had a record production month in May, more than 3,000 ounces. What we told the market we were going to do, that we are 6% ahead of budget, and the stock price went down. So sometimes it's very difficult to understand, but I think that and for us and for the team, and that's what the board believes. I think that we have to be consistent with results. We have to be consistent, showing the market that we can do and that we can deliver what we're said we will deliver. So I think if we continue in this track of production, if we continue to be profitable, if we continue to show results, if our drilling program continues to give the results that we expect, and we can show the market that there's a real possibility here that we can have more than 1 million ounces in all the areas that we have here in Colombia, and that we can continue to deliver, and that in the near future we can be producing between 45,000 50,000 ounces of gold per year. I think that the market should react. I think if we can show that we have an important mine of life that is not only a very good result for a couple of years, but there's mine of life that debt can be repaid, and then we'll have some money so we can give back to our shareholders as a dividend, for example. Then I do believe, or I hope that the market will react. So the main thing for us right now is to deliver and be consistent.
Well, delivery and consistency is one thing, but my goodness, you've that's quite a long wish list. Kind of get stable production above 45,000 ounces, increase the life of mine, kind of global resource of more than 1 million ounces, and then pay a dividend. I mean, absolutely. I'm sure that if you did that, your market capitalization would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
So it's sometimes it sounds like it's like you mentioned a very big wish list and difficult to deliver. But again, that's where we're aiming. So that's the focus. That's the target. 2 years ago, it's not 10 years ago. 2 years ago, our production was 17,000, not even 18,000. Going from 17,000 ounces of gold per year with two small mines that were depleting, started developing the new mine, a new mining method. It's a mechanized mine with jumbos, with dumpers, with scoops. So going with a contractor to self-operating 100%, and increasing basically more than 30% from 18,000 to 23,000 ounces, and now aiming to increase 50% in a year from 23,000 to basically 36,000. It's very challenging, but we are already in June. We are 6% ahead of budget, so I think it's doable. And if we continue to move in that way, this year we are very focused not only in production and increasing production, but in cost control. We want to be much more efficient. So if we continue to move in that way, I think it's doable. It's achievable with the new targets that we have. Restarting the El Limón mine can get us next year to where we want to be in production. And if we continue to drill, I think it's doable. Now again, we need to show the market that we'll be able to do it, and that's the focus of the whole team.
Great. Well, Javier, thank you very much for the introduction to the company and an explanation about your vision and what the plans are. And I wish you all of the best luck for the rest of the year and beyond.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity for the interview. And yes, let's keep in touch. We'll continue to work, and hopefully the market will react to that.